Welcome back to another Cardinals Off Day podcast. The season continues into September. We've got off days every Thursday until the end of the season, and we'll be here with you. I am Ben Godar. I'm one of your hosts. With me, as always, is my good friend Ben Humphrey. Ben, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm a little sad. This, of course, is the week after Labor Day, so I think, summer is officially over with, even if it's not the fall yet, according to the lunar cycles, shall we say. So it's a bummer. And, Ben, this was the time of the year when I used to kind of migrate back to listening to a lot of the games on the radio at the end of the Mike Shannon era, because I wasn't sure how many Mike Shannon games we would have. And so I even feel a little bit more sad, because that's something that's not there anymore. There's no reason to go to the radio broadcast anymore. Instead, you stick with the FanDuel Midwest crew doing John Fisher propaganda and Brad Thompson singing the praises of Chip Cary's failson, who is one of the worst broadcasters in baseball, according to that awful announcing ranking, and that's what we have.
Top of the bottom third, Ben.
Top of the bottom.
You're overselling it a little bit here.
No, I thought the Athletics, Chip Cary's son, is one of the Athletics broadcasters. Yes.
I got lost in the generations of Carys there. That is what you said, but I got.
You can't escape them. It's like quicksand.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Ben, I loved and missed Mike Shannon as much as you do. I don't know that Mike Shannon broadcasts would make these games that much more interesting.
No,
I mean, he was not superhuman. But we continue on, and actually, Ben, where we talk about what we've learned, I think we're going to kind of team up on this, because you and I had what actually ended up, I don't think we had any expectations really going in, but it ended up being a pretty fun experience last week. Going to see MLB Home Run Derby X, which is this kind of touring sort of sideshow performance thing, which I guess has been going on for like 5 years, and came through Des Moines here. And a big reason we went was that there's kind of 4 teams that compete at each event, with like 2 ex-major leaguers and a softball player on each team. We got the Yankees, Red Sox, Cubs, and the Cardinals. And as Cardinals players, we got Adam Wainwright and Rick Ankiel. So it was Ben, why don't you kick us off? Well, I think I kind of set it up. What were some of your takeaways from the event?
Well, I think we should probably explain kind of the setup and the ground rules a little bit before we get into of the overall experience. And this is not a home run derby like at the All-Star game. They have built a stage in the middle of the field, and they have angled it so that they are hitting the ball into the bleachers. Now, where we went to, I'm going to call it Sec Taylor Stadium. It's Sec Taylor Field at Principal Park now in Des Moines, Iowa. And at that ballpark here in Des Moines, we only have bleachers like in the right center field area. So they built this platform so it's facing those bleachers, so they are hitting the balls into those bleachers and beyond. And I say beyond because home plate, where the batter is hitting, is much closer to the wall than it would be, if they were just playing a ball game.
It was kind of basically between like the pitcher's mound and the sort of shortstop. Yeah. The dirt of where the shortstop would be, kind of on that little patch of grass.
And then they're also raised up in the air, so it's even, you know what I mean? Like they even have a little bit of a height advantage.
They were up maybe like 4 steps, up.
And that was so everyone in the ballpark could see them, which was actually pretty neat. Like I liked that feature. And then, the pitcher was up on that platform as well, as was the catcher catching the home run balls. And then the area that you can hit a home run to is just a section of the outfield wall. And they have 2 guys with flags standing at the makeshift. Well, they used the right field flagpole as one, and then they had a makeshift flagpole in center field, or excuse me, foul pole in center field. That was the other foul line, and you have to hit a home run, of course, between the foul poles, but it's a much more limited area. And they have guys with flags like at the airport signaling whether a home run is fair or foul, which I got quite a kick out of. As you said, Ben, they looked kind of like linesmen at a soccer match calling offsides.
Yeah, called a lot of offsides. Yeah.
And then the three players on each team that is not batting are in the outfield trying to catch foul ball or fly balls, and they get a point if they make a catch. Which was a different wrinkle. And then do you want to explain the sort of the bonus and hot streak stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's all very kind of like video game, rules. So I think each batter got like 2 minutes. There's also a section kind of in like straightaway center field. There's a certain section between two almost like uprights where you get like double points if you hit a home run there to straightaway center field. So they don't want everybody to be dead pull hitters at MLB Home Run Derby X, right? And then there was like during a player's at bat they could like call for a hot streak, and then like their next I think 5 pitches or something they got like double points for any home runs, etc. I think the only other wrinkle was you could tag a teammate in, so a player could hit for the full 2 minutes, or if they felt like they were getting tired they could tap out and have a teammate come in. So I mean those are more or less the rules, but basically it's just a very fast paced watch these teams of 3 with 2 ex-major league players and one like college or recently college like softball star just like jack a bunch of home runs. And yeah, I didn't know what to expect, but it was a lot of fun. And I think for Cardinals fans in particular, to see both Ankiel and Wainwright, but I mean especially Wainwright, just so beloved, and to see him out there. We should probably let folks know too that the Cardinals did win.
Yes.
And, Adam Wainwright hit the most home runs of anyone. I guess we didn't mention so the Cubs had Jake Arrieta and what's the super utility guy? What's
Zobrist.
his name? Zobrist. The Red Sox had freaking Manny Ramirez.
Yes.
and Johnny Gomes, right?
Yeah.
And then who's the Yankees guy? I'm blanking.
Nick Swisher. He's
Nick
like
Swisher.
the I think what did they call him? The hype man for the whole event. Like
I got the impression that he and Gomes might have almost been like creators of this, or like I don't know, had some ownership stake in it or something.
Yeah.
And then the Yankees had some other jobber as well.
Savannah Banana, he played on the opposing team of the Savannah Bananas. So I think like the Washington Generals to the Savannah Bananas Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah,
he was on them.
It wasn't clear to me if he had a little bit of major league time at some point in time, but I mean he definitely was not like not a known commodity. But yeah. I don't know. Honestly, like pretty fun event. I mean, like watch Manny Ramirez hit too. I mean, come on, like how you not gonna enjoy that? So, yeah, that was a lot of fun. We both brought our boys. They had a good time. So, I know they're in Kansas City, I believe, this coming weekend. So I'm sure we have some folks listening there. And I don't remember where else they're going, but. I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. So, if it happens to come through the town where you're at, and certainly especially if you've got some Cardinals or just some other, fun players that are going to be on the teams, I'd definitely suggest checking it out.
Yeah, it was fun. And especially we had lovely weather. And it was also Adam Wainwright's birthday, which they made a point of saying. And Adam Wainwright won the MVP of the Home Run Derby X. And when, so he got to give a speech after the Cardinals won, and he started off, when I told my wife I was doing this, she was like, "It's on your birthday. Are you sure you want to do that on your birthday?" And he said, "This is exactly what I want to be doing on my birthday." And it showed. Like he was just on cloud 9, loving life the entire event. Like he just was clearly having a lot of fun.
He was, and one thing I said to you, I know at the event was, we talk a lot about Yachty being a maniac, and Wainwright with his, aw shucks demeanor, I think doesn't give that off quite as strong, but he is every bit the maniac as well. I mean, to grind as long as he did and get those 200 wins and everything, like he has like a well of competitiveness in him that is, insane, as all professional athletes do. But again, he's at that like upper end, probably not going to be like a Hall of Famer, but like, a Hall of the very good kind of guy. So you could certainly see where, and really all of the players, I think just enjoyed having the opportunity to go out and, perform like on something like this. And
also, I would say, like Adam Wainwright, I would describe it almost like an easy swing, like a golf swing for his home run stroke. Like, and it was very repeatable. And once, like, But do you know who and that was kind of the same vibe I got for all of the guys, except for Rick Ankiel, who just like he was deploying bat speed. Like, and he annihilated. Yeah. Like, and we were close enough, and he's up there, and I was just like, man, like he's hacking, and he obliterated a few balls. I mean, they would have been home runs. Pick your major league park from home plate, and that was a lot of fun too. To see him after all the ups and downs of his career, like he's just out there having a good time at a home run derby in Des Moines, Iowa, still doing his thing on the diamond. That was good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ankiel hit one over the scoreboard in right field, which, and again, they're out a little farther. They're not quite at home plate, but you've got like a high wall, like probably a 20-foot high wall. Then you've got bleachers, and then you've got this video board that's got to be at least 30 feet high, like a very, very large like video board out there. And he hit a ball that like cleared it. I mean, it was just insane. A lot of fun. Definitely would encourage folks to check out it if they can. And I think especially in a season like this, to see some Cardinals greats, to, see the Cardinals beat the Cubs and then win a competition certainly felt pretty good.
I feel safe saying, Ben, that for our boys who are 11, and they got to ask Adam Wainwright and Arrieta a question on the jumbotron, which obviously is a great thing for a child. But I think even setting that aside, this was the highlight of the season for them. Like. This Cardinals.
Ben, this was the highlight of the season for me. Like, what was? I mean,
Well, yeah, me too. It really was.
Like, what else was there? Yeah. So, no, a lot of fun. But we do, I think, owe it to folks to continue talking about this season. And I think to the credit of our listeners, folks are hanging with us, and they're still sending in questions. So we will dive into those. Our first question comes from frequent guest / frequent question asker. The Wallet Inspector asks, did Page's hot August solidify him as the starting catcher, like 60th percentage timeshare for 2026? Ben, what do you think?
I think he probably would have. I think that was his to lose anyway. I think it's possible you could have had one of the young catchers displace him. I still think it is. But I think like the opening day catcher in 2026 was Pedro Pages. And then what happens after that, who's to say? Like, I don't feel comfortable telling you who's going to get 60% of the starts in July of next year, if that makes sense. Like, I think he was going to start the year as the primary guy no matter what, and then whatever happens, happens. What do you think, Ben?
Well, I think it's almost certainly going to be Pages and Jimmy Crooks to start the year next year, and R.I.P. Yohel Pozo, who's now on the DL, and Ben, I kind of expect we will not see him again in a Cardinals uniform. Gave us a lot of fun while he was here, but Crooks is a very good prospect and also a left-handed bat, so everything makes so much sense for him being in there. But yeah, as far as the timeshare, We'll see. I mean, Crooks is going to have a month here. If Crooks shows that he's really, mature, and I think the expectation is that at least long term, Crooks should be better with the bat than Pages. Wouldn't shock me to see him getting more of the playing time even early next year. But regardless of the split, and as we've talked about, and as DeWalt Inspector notes, it's going to be, a relatively even split. Likely, I'd assume it's those two guys.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. John asks, let's say everybody on the 40-man is available. How many and who does Bloom trade? Who are under 25? Who does he move over 25? Put Gorman in the first group, so let's call it 26. Okay, that's fair. So if we use age 26 as the cutoff, who does Bloom trade who's under 25, and who does he trade who is over 25?
I'm going to be honest. I don't know that the age thing is going to play a huge factor in terms of kind of who goes and who doesn't. And I also think, there's nobody that they have to trade really necessarily, So I think what it's going to come down to is, do any of the sort of three veterans with multi-year contracts that they're still going to have, who are Arenado, Contreras, and Sonny Gray, who also all have no trade clauses. Can they trade any of those guys? And I think that's going to be a big factor there. I think the other big question is what's going to be different under Bloom than under Mo? That's like one of my biggest questions. And I think we're all kind of in that everything's going to be all roses and stuff. But I just think so many of the things that either Mo would do or he wouldn't do that Cardinals fans got perpetually frustrated with seem like they're just absolutely management things, right? So I'll give you one example that kind of relates to this. I think if they're going to trade Nolan Arenado, they can only do that in a situation where they just eat his entire contract, or very close to it. That is not the kind of thing that this organization has done previously. Certainly not for a guy like him, who's not he's okay, right? He's playable. So if we see Bloom trade Arenado by just kind of eating his whole contract, that'll be a real shift. And that'll either mean that, possibly it was, maybe Mo who had some degree of dislike for doing those things, or at least that, maybe ownership has kind of loosened the reins a little bit on him. But I bring those guys up because I think that just there's kind of a real domino effect from there, just in terms of what positions do they have available, right? So if Contreras is gone, now you've got possibly Ivan Herrera gets a shot at first. Maybe you give Nolan Gorman a look over there. If they decide they think Burleson has enough value as a hitter, they want to keep him, he probably is better for you there. If Arenado moves, you definitely would kind of assume that Gorman, is going to find a home over there at third base. I think in any situation, Weatherholt's at second. So, who does that leave and who do they move? I don't really know. To me, I think the one thing we might see is there anybody who Bloom just doesn't believe in at all? You know what I mean? Bloom might just think Jordan Walker doesn't have it and he's gone. Bloom might think, Alec Burleson is a one-dimensional player who's not worth hanging on to, and on and on. Kind of pick your guys. And I just don't really have a sense of who that's going to be. I think being able to clear any space from those longer-term players will make a big difference. And then we'll just maybe see if some of these runway guys, he's just a sider out of runway. But I really don't feel like I have a sense of who those folks are. Ben, I talked for a long time. What do you think?
I think that the age is important, but I think it's more important, when you're talking about, are you giving up on someone like a Jordan Walker is very, very young. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's not there's a there's a correlation between age and cost. And that, to me, is the real indicator here. And it has been for a while now. And as I'm sure a lot of our listeners know, but, when you are a rookie and for your first 3 years you make the league minimum, with some adjustments, which you're very cheap, then you become eligible for arbitration. And arbitration is designed to give you a percentage share of what you would make as a free agent on the open market based on the year of arbitration eligibility. So you make less in ARB 1, a little bit more in ARB 2, and then I think it's about 3/4 or 80%, maybe a little bit more in ARB 3. And so the older players get, the more expensive they are usually. And with the Cardinals, who have a tendency in the past to draft college players, they've definitely got a lot of guys who are kind of cost controlled through their peak age. And traditionally, and in most analyses, that peak season is like it people used to identify age 30, but it's really like age 28, age 29 is kind of when it starts to go downhill after that. And so when you look at some of these guys, and we've talked about before on the podcast, like I feel like Lars Nootbaar is a candidate to get traded because he's becoming more expensive and he's nearing his peak. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense with where the team is competitively to sign him to an extension. I feel the same way about Brendan Donovan. So I think those two guys are likely to be shopped and maybe traded. And Nootbaar in particular, we talked a little while back about how I would be watching his swing and miss rate now that he's back off the IL, and surprise, surprise, Ben, it's just completely gone way down, like to where it was when he was hitting the ball very well early in the year. And so it does look like the funk on offense that ate up the middle part of a big chunk of his season, the middle part of it. It looks like that was due to injury. It's which he has had problems with injuries, but this specific injury appears to have impacted his ability, and perhaps him trying to play through something because he knows what people say about his health, right? So it looks like he might be in a position to kind of rehabilitate his value on the trade market with a good closing month where his peripherals and metrics are what you would expect them to be from Lars Nootbaar. And then Brendan Donovan's had some health issues as well, and so he might get to that point as well. But I think those two guys, if they're able to end the season healthy and with a solid showing, I think are really priming themselves to be trade candidates. And, I've been kind of saying it tongue-in-cheek, will Pages or Burleson have more wins above replacement? And like they were tied, and Burleson is now on the injured list. And if you think that Pages has any value whatsoever at calling games and handling a pitching staff, he's a more valuable player. He has had a more valuable season. And so I've kind of highlighted that because it really does show how one-dimensional Burleson is. And you raise a very interesting question of what do they think he can be? Because I still think his ability to lay off of pitches out of the zone, given his high contact skill, still isn't great. Like, it's gotten better, but is he able to take that next step? And if he does do that, he could be like a legitimate elite bat. But it just feels like the heart wants what the heart wants, and Alec Burleson's heart wants to swing. And that's what he does, So I think that'll be interesting.
No, but Ben, I think you're exactly right that the contract status is going to be huge. And just for context for folks, so next season, Brendan Donovan and Lars Nootbaar will both be entering their ARB 2 season, and ARB 2 is definitely one where they've kind of let some guys go in the past. I think Bader was ARB 2 when they parted ways with him. They get more expensive through those ARB years. Gorman and Burleson will be entering their first year of arbitration next year, so they both will, have a jump. Walker is still actually going to be pre-ARB, and Pajes and Herrera, of course, are kind of pre-ARB as well. So, with that context, it would maybe be a little more surprising if they let Walker go because guys that are pre-ARB are basically free. So you're only going to let someone like that go if you just think like you're just absolutely not a part of our plans at all, and so we're just gonna there's like opportunity cost there that you want to get rid of. So I am with you on that. All right, our next question. Mink River has 2 questions. First, how do you feel about Contreras' 6-game suspension? Was the length appropriate? Second, they mentioned in one of the Yankees broadcasts that Boone and Marmol are tied with the most managerial ejections this season. Do you feel Marmol generally gets ejected for good reasons? Do you have a favorite Marmol ejection? For me, Boone and Marmol have some of the most entertaining ejections. Ben, I'll be shocked if you are willing to say anything Oliver Marmol does entertains you, but go for it.
Well, I'll start with the Contreras suspension, and I want to back up to that ejection because I thought that Contreras' ejection was like Bull Durham level, where he said something to the umpire and the umpire ejects him, and he got really angry, and was like, "What on earth?" And the umpire says, "You told me to." Now I'm drawing a blank. It was go F yourself or F off. I think it was go F yourself. And Contreras is like, I did not say that. Like, he's just like, and the umpire's like, yes, you did. And he's like, I did not say that. And the umpire's like, yes, you did. And then he just starts saying it repeatedly, like with different, like, it was clear he was like emphasizing it and saying it in different ways, like to the umpire, like, oh, I'm going to get ejected for this. Then I'm going to say, go F yourself. Like 5 or 6 different times with different, I don't know, maybe he was doing accents. Maybe I don't know. Yeah. Maybe he sang it to him. I couldn't tell on the broadcast, but I thought that was delicious and hilarious. Now, that being said, I also thought throwing the high chew was great. I love it when players throw things from within the dugout after they get ejected. I think it's wonderful, whether it's a cooler, bubble gum, sunflower seeds, high chew. It also gave us the wonderful Fangraphs post about what food is available in clubhouses, which, folks, you should go check that out on Fangraphs. The author is escaping me right now, but a wonderful post. And all of that being said, you can't throw bats in the vicinity of people. Like, you just can't do it. Like, everyone there is at work, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
If you think about it that way, it's not even okay to throw the high chew. But it's baseball, so I indulge myself in that way. But you can't throw bat. Like, I like it when you slam a bat for emphasis or something like that, or break a bat over your knee like Bo Jackson. I think all of that's fun. But you cannot throw it like Contreras did, and that is a bright red line. So I think the 6-game suspension is appropriate. Like, you can't do it, and you have to make an example of every person who does it. And we'll get to Marmol's role in this in just a second. But what did you think of the 6-game suspension, Ben?
I don't really have anything to say about it. Like, I don't really get into like parsing the size of these things because who knows what the rules are. But like, did he deserve to get suspended? Absolutely, right? Like, should it have been 4 instead of 6? Like, honestly, I don't care. Like, they, whatever their kind of somewhat rules they have for these things, it's different. Sometimes someone gets suspended and you think, well, they shouldn't have been suspended for that. They were the victim in the situation or something like that. That's not the case here. He should have been suspended. So if 6 is the number, it's 6. If he appeals and they move it to 4, it's 4.
And I think we also have to keep in mind, I know that pitchers no longer bat, but there's always in the back of my mind the starting pitcher effect on suspensions, where I feel like 10, maybe 15 years ago, the league started going to like a de facto 6-game suspension because it guaranteed that a starting pitcher would not start. They would miss a start. And and so when I view it through that prism, there was a part of me was like, oh, that felt more like, he he didn't throw it intentionally at someone, really, to try to hurt them. It was inadvertent. But there was this part of me that was like, oh, 6, that feels a little steep. But then I was like, no, but, if a starting pitcher did this, you'd have to suspend him 6 games. Otherwise, he would just make his next start. So, I was okay with it. Because I've noticed that they've kind of gone to that, and I feel like that's the new standard. And I know that I personally have not, my knee-jerk reaction that's not baked into the cake of my knee-jerk reaction is the starting pitcher timeline in these things.
Yeah. Well, second part of the question, and Ben, I'll just say, I don't know. Honestly, I don't enjoy ejections as much as I used to. I don't enjoy, I don't know. I used to just find the kind of color of it really fun and entertaining. And I don't know. I mean, part of it too is that we see so much fewer of them now with instant replay, right? So there's just often not a reason for it. It seems like it's almost always a balls and strikes thing when it is, or just, there's not much else it can be. So, I mean, Marmol definitely gets ejected a lot. I don't know. I don't have a lot of thoughts on his ejections. I did tend to enjoy Mike Schilt ejections because he just would go so absolutely red ass. I kind of enjoyed watching that. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I know that it seems like Marmol there used to be a pejorative so and so leads from behind, and it was lame. With the connotations that come from it, but it feels like a lot of Marmol's ejections are from behind, in that he has a player get ejected first, and then he has to go get in the middle of it, and it seems to, and that's what happened with the Contreras situation. I will say,
well, I felt like he tried to get out there as quickly as possible with the Contreras thing. So,
but what
happened in a blink of an eye, and he at least probably kept him from physically assaulting the umpire.
But I really enjoyed, Ben. What I was going to say is I think that this is my favorite Marmol ejection, because I just talked about what I enjoyed about what Contreras did. Well, after Contreras stormed off and was just going ballistic behind him, Marmol grabbed the "Go F yourself" baton. And then said that repeatedly to the umpire as well, until he got ejected. So it was like he got tagged. We talked about the home run derby. You tag in your teammate and they're taking hacks. Well, Contreras tagged out and Marmol tagged in, and he just picked up right where he left off. The same exact thing. And I thought that was hilarious. And I greatly enjoyed it. But it does feel like, it's weird. Marmol seems to get ejected a lot, and it feels more like Aaron Boone is more like a basketball coach or an old school manager, where they get ejected for a reason. It's part of a greater chess move, and I'm going to deploy my anger in that way and to make my point to everyone, and I hope that it sinks in. And Marmol it feels like he really is really pissed off about that one call, or the 3 calls. I mean, I've even seen him hold up fingers on the number of pitches that he says the umpire missed, and it's kind of
I feel like usually he's getting ejected because he feels like they're getting screwed on balls and strikes, and he thinks he's trying to push that back in their favor by continuing to be loud about it, and whether it works or not, who knows.
But yeah, it's just kind of okay, Marmol's getting ejected again, and a lot of times like it's weird. It's really weird the last couple of years because there aren't even any people at the ballpark, and it's just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like in the old days, the Cardinals fans would be like cheering in Busch because it was like full, and the crowd would be like into it, and it was more fun. And now it's like this sad, pathetic, empty stadium, and he just looks like a sad, pathetic little man getting ejected in front of no one.
Well, and honestly, I think some of that is just that it's so often it's in a non-competitive game too. So it's kind of like, how do you even make that like significant or meaningful or memorable? So
all right. Felina asks, going to my first and second game at Busch this week for the incoming Bay Area teams. What must I eat at the ballpark?
I appreciate this question because I definitely like to eat. In fact, our last two questions are both about food. And Dan, who helps us out on social media, I guess as he fielded this question, he recommended the tachos, which I think is a solid recommendation. I'm going to asterisk my response here, Ben, by saying obviously I love the Cardinals. I love Busch Stadium. It's my favorite place to, be to see a ball game. I kind of don't have food that I absolutely love there, or this is the thing that I always have to get. So I do often get the nachos in the regular stadium is certainly something that I'll go to. We often sit in the Redbird Club that has kind of its own little food area. It's not all inclusive, but it's just got its own. It's the kind of air conditioned area. There's different things in there. I do actually get. They have they make you stir fry in their thing that I've gotten a few times, which, it's one of these places where you kind of, you load a little, bowl up with your various ingredients and then they stir fry it there. That's actually, I think, fairly good for ballpark food because it's made right there, and it's got vegetables in it, things like that. So I don't know, as a, I guess maybe older man myself too, that's one thing that I kind of enjoy. I'll always do a hot dog or kind of something standard like that, but I'm trying to think, Ben, what do you like? Or maybe there might be things I'm not even thinking about.
I have to be honest, I so completely subscribe to Humphrey Bogart that a dog at the game is better than a steak at the Ritz. When I get near the ballpark, I'm just I need a hot dog. It's just and that's just I will get 2 hot dogs. I will get peanuts, and I will have 2 beers. I have a beer with my hot dogs, and then I have a beer with my peanuts, and I am on cloud 9, and that is what I do. And I know it's very boring. I could have had that same meal in 1972, and ballpark food has so evolved. But when I am there, I'm just I just want to do that. And I really enjoy, when I went to Fenway, I really enjoyed having a Fenway Frank. I really I have not yet made it to Dodger Stadium, but I really want to go there to have a Dodger dog, just so I can have a Dodger dog. And I am very boring, but about the only thing I don't eat that would be more cliche would be Cracker Jacks, but I don't even know if they sell those at the ballpark anymore. But that is my go. When I get to the ballpark, I want a hot dog. That's what I want, and probably 2 actually. And then I get peanuts later, and I always get peanuts because I think, and I'm not saying this as a preemptive complaint. I just feel as peanut allergies are more prevalent, there's going to be a time when you cannot get peanuts at the ballpark anymore. So I always get them when I go because I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it again.
Yeah. No, for sure. There used to be there was a standalone grill. It was on the main concourse level, kind of more home plate ish kind of, that had kind of a, so it was one of these ones that's it's freestanding in the concourse. It's not kind of, built in there, and that had a kind of its own grill there, and was a little more I know I used to go there sometimes to get different sausages. They just had kind of some more options, and they were just, a little better quality than the kind of your standard boiled wrapped in paper kind of dog. But I haven't haven't even tried to go there for a few years. I'm not even sure if it's still there. So I guess that's what we've got, but this might be one where, if folks, where'd this question come in on? Was this, this was on Blue Sky. So, I think particularly if folks follow us on Blue Sky and, maybe respond with some other ideas. I know we've got listeners who are able to get to more games than you or I are as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if some folks have some really good suggestions.
All right. John LaRue, friend of the pod, asks, what's the best way to cook blue oyster mushrooms? The culinary mushrooms questions will continue until the outlook improves.
Ben, I would have no problem with turning this into a mushroom podcast if we want to go that way. And I feel like John is maybe reaching out to me specifically here because he knows that I, over the last few years, have gotten into mushroom hunting, and obviously he cooks and I cook. So I'm going to say, first off, I don't do, I haven't gotten blue oysters, around here. I do find a lot of golden oysters around here and some white oysters. So, but I think all the oysters are like fairly similar. I'll say that in my experience, so again, with the caveat that I'm not completely familiar with blue, but I think most of the oysters, they don't have a super like rich flavor in the way that's certainly not like a morel or even like a chanterelle that's just got a really like, it definitely has a good like meaty mushroomy taste, but it's not quite, that level. So really I think the thing to do with them is, basically to just, cook them in your fat of choice. I usually use a combination of olive oil and butter, and get some garlic or some other kind of flavor in there, and just really imbue them with that. Because like any mushrooms, I think one of the great things about them is, they're just like sponges that'll soak up all of that flavor. So that's one thing to do. I'll tell you another thing I do with oysters is I'll do like a confit where you just I'll often do that like in the oven and like cover the mushrooms with that layer of oil and the garlic and everything, and you cook that just forever, and then you let it cool and put it in the fridge. And the nice thing about a confit is it kind of preserves a little bit too, because that's always a little bit of a thing with mushrooms is you really have to cook them just for preservation's sake pretty quickly. And there's different things you can do, of course, and you can freeze and you can do things like that. But a confit will allow you to, kind of preserve those mushrooms for a pretty good period of time. So Ben, I just gave a pretty long description of what I would do with these mushrooms. Do you cook with mushrooms much? I don't know what you.
No, we. My dad always liked morels, and they're okay for me. Like, I'm just not a big mushroom person, and I have had many people, including my father, explain to me why I need to like mushrooms, and maybe it's the anti-authoritarian in me, where I'm like, no, I don't want these. But so, and right now, with 3 kids, the oldest being 11, like, they are definitely in the, if you tried to give them mushrooms, they'd look at you like you were an alien from another planet. And so just, there's not, I guess I have not had the opportunity to try to challenge myself to get more into them. And, I don't begrudge people who enjoy mushrooms. I understand why people would like them and enjoy cooking with them, but it's not something that has ever that I have ever really greatly enjoyed, so I just haven't pursued it. But
well, it makes a big difference too. Anything that you like spend a morning or an afternoon like out in the woods, like rooting around and digging, and you find it, like that always tastes better because you're tasting the fruits of your labor.
Oh, absolutely. See, when I'm out walking around the woods, I'm usually looking up at birds. If I am, I'm not looking down for mushrooms. Yeah. And that's I find that enjoyable as well. So I definitely understand the allure of the hunting of the mushrooms.
Yeah. Well, it helps me go out in the woods because, like, as much as I do really enjoy being in nature, I'm kind of a little too, like, goal oriented. So, like, the fact that it, like, gives me a goal, and especially a goal that I can eat at the end, like, that's the kind of motivation I need. Whereas if I just say, oh, I'm going to go take a walk in the woods, I'll enjoy it to a point, but then there's a point I'm just like, well, what the hell am I doing? I'm just walking. There's trees here, you know. So anyway, we appreciate the questions, the mushroom questions, the Cardinals questions. Feel free to keep them coming our way. We're, got still 1 month left here in the season. Ben, with that in mind, what are you going to be looking for?
I'm going to continue to anxiously monitor Matthew Liberatore's performance down the stretch, because even though we kind of have been talking about for a long time that he was going to hit a wall and his performance was probably going to fall off because this was going to be the most he has pitched in his career, I'm still nervous about his health. So I'm going to be watching and hoping that he's able to even out a little bit, refine his velocity, and finish the season healthy.
Yeah, agreed. Ben talked about this a little bit earlier. I am going to be watching the beginning of the Jimmy Crooks era. I know kind of before the September call-ups, you and I speculated and we thought, there was an outside chance that we might see a Weatherhole or a Quinn Matthews, who I think would have been the most kind of interesting call-ups for the Cardinals to get a look at here at the last part of the season. But Crooks was definitely on our list. And in fact, I think we expected Crooks more than the others, and it turned out we were right about that. And I feel like Crooks is almost like a little bit of a forgotten man just because, the Cardinals have other catching prospects beyond him, which are have certain, maybe more eye-popping or tantalizing things about him. But Jimmy Crooks is the one who's major league ready right now. And, by all accounts, a pretty well-rounded catcher as well. I know his defensive reputation, I know, is pretty good. His offense, again, not as good as, some of the others maybe in the system, but very good as well. And again, the fact that he's a left-handed bat. And if you're going to carry two catchers, like, it's just kind of, you have a left-handed one, you have a right-handed one. That's just kind of one of those things you do. So, it's not as interesting as watching Weatherhole or Matthews would have been, but it's still going to be interesting to see, like, hey, what does this guy have? Because, he as early as next season, I think, we could see him, getting the, maybe slight majority of the starts. And I certainly hope, he provides them an upgrade at that position. So that is what I'm going to be looking for. Ben, anything else before we wrap things up?
No, I think that we are down the home stretch of the runway, right? And so I'm interested to see how those runway players finish out the year as well. And I think that's the way forward for watching and enjoying this team is trying to identify and enjoy good performance from players who have been identified as future long-term Cardinals. And so that's where we are, and hopefully we get something that plants the seed for looking forward to future years here down the stretch from some of these guys.
Yeah. Or we just keep losing a ton of games and get another pretty good draft pick. That might be.
That would be a win-win, right? Just keep losing. You guys can each individually have good games and good performances, but just don't get too many RBIs.
Yeah, That's right. All right. Well, whatever the Cardinals do over the last month, we'll be with you again. We're going to be pretty regular here for the rest of the season, back every Thursday. So we will be back with you again next Thursday on the next Cardinals Off Day.
Go, Cardinals!